Alright everyone, this is Zero Budget Geek and welcome to my review of The Captain is Dead. In this review, we're going to be grading this game in 5 different categories. We're going to be discussing value, or how much are you getting for your money's worth. We're going to also be grading this game on writing, that is the clarity of the rules and any thematic writing. We're going to grade this game on overlapping, or how it stacks up to other games in the genre, and whether you should be adding this to your collection if you already have similar games in the genre. It's also going to be graded on accessibility. How easy is it to learn this game, and how hard is it to play the game in general? And lastly, we're going to grade it on a secret X factor, something special about this game that either makes it really great or really terrible. If you're already familiar with how to play this game, you can click in the upper right hand corner to skip ahead to see the final grades. But for now, let's go quickly over the rules. Imagine that you're in the last 10 minutes of your favorite sci-fi TV show, but things have gone so badly that the captain is dead. The Captain is Dead is a frantic co-op board game that lets you save your crew from utter annihilation. Each of the up to 7 players gets a unique role. However, there are no heroes in this game. You must work together to repair critical systems and fend off a hostile alien threat, or you will all perish. The Captain is Dead was created by Joe Price and J.T. Smith and is published by The Game Crafter. In this game, you have a central board which represents your ship, and the ship is divided into different rooms, and out of each room there's a number of systems connected to it. These are sort of essentially actions that you're going to be able to take to perform different things throughout the game. Each player will have their own character card and a matching paw to represent their character on the ship, and they're going to be moving it around to perform different things. Let's go over the character card. First at the top, we have the name of the character. In this case, this is the scholar. Each character has a rank. That's just the turn order for that player. They have a hand size, how many cards they're going to be able to have in their hand. They have a number of action points. These gray icons, this is the number of actions. So this player has 4 actions. And then they have a number of skill icons, and these are the skills that character is good at. They're essentially discounts when performing different tasks. We'll go over that later. And then there's a text box of a special ability that the character has. If we take a look at the engineering section of the board, this orange area, we're going to notice that there's 2 systems connected to that. Well, first we'll talk about the jump core. This is your ultimate goal in this game. You need to repair your jump core so you can escape from the attacking aliens. Now, this is also a way to set the difficulty of the game. So most games you want to set it at normal, but you can make it harder or easier. Each time a player repairs the jump core, it'll move up 1 stage until you get it to engage. Once you reach engage, that is how the players will win. Now, there's also another system connected to engineering, which is the teleporter. As long as this teleporter is active, the players will be able to teleport around the ship for a single action. If we take a look at the bridge, we'll notice that there's a stack of yellow alert cards here. At the end of each player's turn, one of these cards is going to be drawn and resolved. These are basically very bad things that are going to be happening. They're going to represent the aliens attacking or just unfortunate things that are going to occur. Now, they start at yellow alert, which are, pretty bad stuff, and then they move on to orange alert cards, which are worse, and then down towards the end of the game you get to the red alert cards, which are really terrible. You're also going to notice over here that we have a card called external scanners. As long as the external scanners are functioning, you'll be able to see the next 2 cards that are going to be coming out, so you can plan according to that. We also have a comm system here that, as long as that is functioning, the players will be able to freely trade cards with each other for a single action for each card they want to trade. At the bridge, you will also find the shields. The shields start at 100%, and as different cards are resolved, your shields will be taking damage because of different things, and it'll move further and further down. If your shields reach 0%, and then you take another hit, it is game over and the players will lose. From the bridge, you can spend actions in order to increase your shield. We'll go over how actions work a little bit later. The ship also has an armory. From the armory, we have our torpedo tube, and the game starts with a bunch of torpedoes already ready, and you can build a few more later on. You can use these torpedoes to blast enemy ships. Some of the alert cards are enemy ships that will stick around and continuously do bad things to you. You can use a torpedo to get rid of them. You can also use a torpedo to avoid having to draw a card at the end of your turn. It won't stop that particular card, but it may delay it long enough for you to plan for it. Also from the armory, we have a security station here. The security station, you can use that to remotely kill any enemy aliens that are on board. The ship has an infirmary. Periodically, your characters will get injured. When your characters are injured, the amount of actions that they can perform or the types of actions they can perform will be limited. So you'll want to come to the infirmary, and from there you have a trauma station which will allow you to heal yourself or any other injured character in the infirmary. Now, what self-respecting vessel will not have a science lab? From the science lab, there are actually a number of different things you can do. You can, some of the yellow alert cards will be called anomalies. They're basically bad things that will come out and then have an overarching effect on the entire game. They may be heavy gravity or giving the players some kind of irrational fear. From the science lab, you can research that anomaly to get rid of it. Also, science labs are immune to the different anomalies, so you can kind of hang out in there to be immune to it. Also, from the science lab, you can research upgrades to your ship. There's a number of upgrade cards that are going to be sitting to the side of the table. Each one has a different cost and they have a different effect. You can only have up to 2 upgrades active at a time, but even if you have 2 upgrades already researched, you can research a third one, but then you'll have to get rid of one of your existing ones. Your ship also has a computer core. From here you can get skill cards. Let's look more closely at that. At the computer core, there are a number of skill cards in a pile. You're going to be using skill cards in order to perform the different actions, but you're going to be needing to draw more skill cards as the game goes on. You don't automatically draw any. So from the computer core, you can use your computer spend an action to draw a single random skill from the top of the deck. Or if your internal sensors are functional, when the internal sensors are up, you will have 3 skill cards already out that you'll be able to pick one of those for a single action. However, if for whatever reason the computer core gets knocked down, you'll lose access to all those skills. Same thing with the internal sensors. If your internal sensors go down, you want to have access to those cards. And yes, you heard that right. Some of your systems will get turned face down to an offline status, and you'll have to repair them in order to use them again. Now, you do have a well-stocked ship, and you do come with a cargo hold. In the cargo hold, there's going to be a number of tools available to be picked up by any character and used throughout the game. They give you different things. They may let you teleport for free, or shoot some guns to shoot at aliens, or what have you, or cards that will help you with skills. Also, at the beginning of the game, the players are going to start with a number of skill cards in their hand, and they're going to each discard one to the cargo hold, and any player can go there to pick those up. And lastly, we have the war room. Before our captain met his unfortunate demise, he drew up some battle plans to help us with different situations. From the war room, you can spend some actions in order to draw one of these battle plan cards. Each one has a different miscellaneous ability. They're usually very powerful, and usually you can play them out of your turn. So it's well worth getting these battle plans and using it against your alien enemies. When it is your turn, you're going to spend actions to perform different things, and then you're going to draw a yellow alert card. On the back of each character card is a list of the different actions that you can use. These are general actions that don't require skills. For one action, you can choose to move about the ship. Spending a single action lets you move up to 2 spaces. So from engineer, I can move into the hallway and then into the cargo hold, or engineer hallway into science lab. Bear in mind, if the teleport is functioning, you can just use that one action to teleport anywhere on the ship. Another action you can do is if there is a hostile alien in your location, you can spend an action to kill it. Once you spend the action, it is automatically defeated. Now, while we're on the subject of aliens, when an alien is in your same room, they actually don't actively try to kill you. Aliens in this game are more of an obstacle. So as long as there is an alien in your location, you're limited in the actions you can do. Basically, the only actions you can do is you can either kill the alien itself or just leave that room. If another player is in your location, you have a few more options. If a player is injured, you may want to carry him to move him around somewhere else. Of course, if the teleporter is active, you can just teleport that player somewhere else. If two players are at a given location, they can spend an action to trade a card with each other. It could be a tool or a skill card. Some actions require skills. Let's use the torpedo tube as an example. If we look closely at it, it requires two actions. It needs a blue command, a red tactical, and a torpedo. Well, we have torpedoes here, so that's out of the way. And all players have actions. Let's use our first officer as an example. Now, we do need to have the red and blue icons, which the first officer has there. These are called skill discounts when they're on the player card. So for each icon they have, they pay one less of that color. So the first officer, since he has blue and red, that already pays for the torpedo tube, so he has to do is spend the two actions. If we were using another character like the chief engineer, who only has two engineer icons, he'd have to find a way to spend the blue and red. Fortunately, that is where the skill cards come in. If the chief engineer player has a command and tactical card in hand, the red and blue, they can discard that, spend the two actions plus the torpedo in order to fire the torpedo tube. Different actions cost different amounts. So for instance, to repair the shields, you need to spend two actions plus two red tactical. To use the comp system only uses a single action. However, if it gets damaged or goes offline, you'll have to repair it in order to use it again. In this instance, we will spend one action plus two tactical in order to repair it back to online status. Throughout the game, your system could actually get destroyed. Now, it usually doesn't happen until you get into the orange alerts, but your systems can get destroyed. In that case, you can reinstall them, but they will require a tremendous amount of skills in order to get them back. So don't let that happen. After a player has spent all their actions that they want to on a turn, they will draw an alert card. There are three different types of alerts. Let's talk about the first one. The first one is just a regular alert. It's going to have some kind of effect. This one in particular says teleporter overload. Teleporter is offline, so we will switch the teleporter from online to offline mode, and then all players in engineering are injured. Now, if you notice, there's three blue icons on this and the word override with a question mark. If the active player or the player whose turn is just ending chooses to, they can spend those three icons, so three blue command icons, to override this card. Overriding means it just doesn't happen and you discard it. So that's one way to get rid of those. Also, remember, you can fire a torpedo to not draw a card at the end of your turn, but that's not the best use of it. We also have anomalies, which we mentioned earlier. When you draw an anomaly, you're going to read the text of it. It's going to have an ongoing effect, and it's going to stay near the science lab and continuously affect you. At the bottom, you're going to see a number of icons. For instance, you can see one action plus 4 science icons. If you spend the action on all those icons, you will get rid of the anomaly. That's how you get rid of those. You can't torpedo those, unfortunately. And lastly, we've mentioned before that there are ships. Here we have an alien fighter. This one doesn't damage your shields, but whenever your shields do take damage, it'll increase the damage. Ships remain in play. You can fire the torpedo tube to destroy the ship. There's one more rule about ships we'll go into. Remember, we mentioned that we have external scanners which will let us see the next two bad cards or alerts that are coming out. there's a little trick you can do. They actually have an order to them. So this one up here, the furthest one out, is the one that's going to happen next, and then this one on the next player's turn. If you fire a torpedo to blow up a ship when it's in the coming next position, not only will you destroy it, that player will also not need to resolve and alert that turn. So that's one of the best ways to use a torpedo. Now, if the ship happens to be in the second position, meaning it's not happening this turn but the next turn, you can still blow it up, but it'll just simply get replaced by another card, and then the active player will still have to resolve an alert at the end of their turn. So the players are going to be running around, taking their turns, doing their actions, drawing yellow alert cards. Your main goal is to fix your jump core to get it to engage to win. If your shields go down to 0 and you get hit, you lose. There are also a couple other ways to lose. There are alien tokens. There are 12 of them that come with this game. They're periodically going to be added to the board because of the alert cards. If at any point you're supposed to add an alien and you cannot because you've run out, you will also lose the game. Additionally, if you get through the entire alert stack and resolve the last one, you will lose at that point. At that point, the aliens have just overcome your ship and they have destroyed it. And now it's time to grade this game. So first up is the writing in this game, and we're going to be talking about the rules and some of the thematic elements. Well, first of all, the rules. The rule book is very well set up. It is clearly and cleanly written, so you can follow everything. It goes through the setup very easily, has lots of different drawings and on icons, and there's even a QR code for a tutorial video, and it goes into the different roles in the game and covers some special rules about them. Anytime that we've had any kind of problem or question in the game, we've been able to go to the rules and easily figure it out. Most of the rules are actually easily able to be figured out by just following the thematic sense of it. So if I want to fix the teleporter, the way to fix that makes thematic sense, which I really like. Firing the torpedoes makes thematic sense. Also, the game is, if it's not clear right now, is obviously influenced by Star Trek. It is, what I like to say, it's probably the best Star Trek game that I've played that is not licensed, that does not have the Star Trek license. So the writing extends to some of the cards. There's lots of references, like the battle plans, like there's one called the Grow the Beard, which gives a makes a character better at command, so that's an obvious reference to the show. And also the different characters that you can play as. Now you have the usual guys like the first officer, the chief engineer, and the weapons officer, but then you have characters like the hologram or the telepath that just give much more replayability and just have much more of a thematic sense to the game. And while we're at it, we're going to be talking about the different characters and how much they add to the game when we get to value. And so for writing, I give this game an A. Now let's rate this game on accessibility. Well, learning to play was pretty simple because the writing in the rule book was very good. So for myself, learning the rules was pretty straightforward. I was able to jump into the game relatively quickly. Now, however, I have played this game with experienced gamers and players new to just gaming in general. So most gamers are able to get into the game relatively quickly. Most things make sense. Newer players had a much more difficult time learning the game. They will get it after a few rounds of play, but by then they're probably not doing well at the game. So I would say this is not necessarily a game to teach first timers to cooperative board games, but if they're experienced in board games, in cooperative board games at all, then you can throw them in there. So for that, because I don't feel like I can get brand new players to jump into this, brand new players to the hobby, then I give this game a B, but it's a very high B. I don't do plus or minus, so this game gets a B for accessibility. I wouldn't put a first timer on this game, but experienced players definitely jump right in. Okay, so how about overlapping, or how does this game stack up to some of the great co-op games that we have out there, like Dead of Winter? Well, even though that's a semi-co-op, but we have games like Pandemic Legacy, Ghost Stories, and so on. So how does Captain is Dead stack up to them? Well, in my opinion, it is up there with the best of them, and in many of them, it will surpass them. Pandemic was my number one co-op game of all time. That was actually surpassed by Flashpoint Fire Rescue, which I like a whole lot better. Even though there's a little bit more randomness to that game, I like that a whole lot. And we're not going to talk about Pandemic Legacy because that is an experience on its own. Captain is Dead has beat out Fire Rescue. In my book, it has become the go-to co-op game for me. I cannot say enough about the fun that I've had with this game. Every game has felt very different. Sometimes it can be very punishing. Sometimes we can get through it pretty easily. But all of it depends on the players, how well they play. We never felt like the game was just beating us up randomly. Unlike in Dead of Winter, where a character can just immediately die because of a bad die roll, or, you know, and same with Ghost Stories. In The Captain is Dead, whenever something bad happens, most of the time you feel like you could have prevented it or you could have done better. But for overlapping, I give this game an A. This should be in your collection. It's a shame that more people don't know about this game because it is a phenomenal co-op game, and I highly recommend that you get a copy yourself, or at least find it somewhere and play it. Alright, now let's talk about value. This game retails for $49.99. You can get it at the Game Crafter shop, and I don't think it's available anywhere else. That's pretty much where you get it. So for $50, the price of a regular manufactured game, you're gonna get a Game Crafter game. Is it worth that amount of money? Well, absolutely. There is so much you're gonna get out of this game, and most of it comes from the different roles in the game. Now, I gotta tell you, they could have played it safe. They could have just said, hey, you're gonna have a chief engineer, you're gonna have a tactical officer, a science officer, and you can have, the regular tropes. But they went above and beyond. They got you guys, like I mentioned before, the hologram. You can have a janitor, you can have an ensign, a teleporter, a teleport chief, a cyborg, a scholar, a counselor, the crewman who always dies and then comes back, because you always have a crewman that's gonna die. You have all these different characters that you can play as. Now, we didn't go over it in the rules, but at the beginning of the game, each player is going to be randomly given a color, right? And when you get a color, you're going to get all the roles of that color, and then you're going to choose which one to play. So the makeup of each team in each game is going to be completely different. And I have to tell you that each character really plays very differently. Whenever I'm playing as the hologram, I feel like I have a hologram, and I'm playing the hologram because he's very good at skills, but he's very limited in how he can move around the ship. If the computer or the teleporter goes down, he can't move about the ship. Whenever I play the scholar, I feel like, I'm the jack of all trades. I can do different things. If I'm the soldier, I'm running around, blowing things up and fighting aliens. So most of the value in this game comes from the tremendous amount of roles in this game. There's 18 different characters that you can play as. They all feel very different, and the makeup of your team is going to feel very different each time you play. So I would give it an A, but there is a caveat. And I hate to do this because I really like the Game Crafter service and I like what they do, but because it is a Game Crafter product, some of the components suffer a little bit. They're generic pieces that you can find at the Game Crafter. Even though I do like the tokens, they're little stickers that you peel on. I didn't like the fact that I had to take all the stickers and put them on each individually, but that didn't factor into my decision. So they are just regular plastic tokens, and then just simple wooden pieces. So I have to give it a little bit of a knock for that. So for in value, I give it a very high B. I'd like to say B plus, but I don't do plus or minus. So for value, it gets a B. It's not as high quality as some of the, you know, you're not going to get really linen finished cards, though they're really nice. So not as high quality as some other games you used to, like Fantasy Flight, but the value in this game is the amount of times that you're going to be able to play this and enjoy it. So B for value. And the last thing I'm going to grade this game on is the X factor. For me, this is the theme. What makes the game special? The theme of this game makes it very special. Everything from drawing the cards, from trading cards to each other, from the roles that you play and how they play out, everything makes thematic sense. There is a reason for things happening the way they do. The way your shields go up and down makes sense because you're being attacked by aliens. You know, being able to teleport anytime that you want, as long as the teleport is active, makes sense because in the Star Trek show, they were teleporting all over the place. So the theme of this game just comes out in everything you do. The very simple skill cards, you know, they just make sense. You know, if you're giving a skill card to another person, it's as if you're, you know, giving them some instructions on how to do something, or maybe you're issuing commands to them. Whatever, you can kind of, you know, play with the theme a little bit there. There is some leeway for that. You know, you have things like the battle plans. The battle plans make thematic sense that the captain had, you know, different contingency plans and all that. You know, your computer's going down, meaning you don't have access to skills. Your scanner's going down, meaning you can't see the things coming up. Make a whole lot of sense. Also, again, I can't say enough how cool it is that you can have a system that lets you see some of the bad things that are gonna come before they happen, and let you plan around it. So the randomness of this game is very, very minimized. The only randomness in the game is really the order the alerts are gonna come out in, what battle plans you draw, and what skills you get, and maybe what characters you get. Otherwise, you feel most of the time you're in complete control, and the control makes sense. The reasons that things happen make sense. The reason the bad things happen makes sense. You know, aliens teleporting, you know, obviously you can't go fixing your jump core if you've got like 10 different aliens in the room. They're not going to let you do that. You got to get out of there or fight them all off, which you probably can't. So for the X factor, which is theme, I give this an exuberant A. For sure, this gets an A right off the board. That's the part that I had the most fun with. So my final rating for Captain is Dead, averaging out the scores, is a big A. And you know, for one of my first reviews, I'm giving out an A, but I gotta tell you, this game is fantastic. I've played it, you know, around 10 times. I've had a lot of fun. We've not even seen all the characters being played. I've played it with a number of different groups, beginners, you know, experts, and every single time it has been fun. It has been a unique experience each time, and you know, I just cannot recommend it enough. Do yourself a favor, get a hold of this. You won't regret it. It is a great game. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more videos that I've done, go ahead and click in the upper right hand corner to see the link to more videos. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.